Welcome back to Media Week. Well, Nine's efforts to retain the broadcast rights to rugby league are stepping up. The network looking to free up some cash by dumping its Warner Brothers deal. According to The Australian, Nine is the first Australian commercial network to negotiate a non-committal output agreement with a US studio. The move potentially freeing up Australian rights to a range of popular TV shows. And for more on this, we're joined now for a stock market perspective by Evan Lucas from IG. Evan, great to have your company on the show today. What is the impact of this move on Nine's share price?
Look, it's actually still a little bit of stability in the share price. Nine's been on the slide for most of this current week, and that's something to be quite interesting and watching. It also shows that the deregulation inside the whole sort of free TV sort of ad space is really ramping up. It is also about using your capital as best as possible. There's no doubt that this deal was very much a cash-sapping deal, around about $100 million a year around this whole Warner Brothers tie-up. They still have the rights, as you said, to things like The Big Bang Theory, which is a really key programming for them. But considering how prominent sport is, the fact that rugby league is on the cusp of negotiating a new record contract deal, now Nine need to keep that, considering they're competing with Seven in that free-to-air TV market with the AFL football for most of the southern states. So there needs to be that deregulation. Nine share price has certainly halted on the news that they are obviously looking to deregulate themselves and have a little bit more fluidity around how they negotiate contracts and actually outlay content.
And Presto and Quickflix have done a deal as well, where Quickflix's streaming customers will be offered Presto subscription video on demand, TV and movies, but it's still subject to some commercial requirements.
It is, but it also shows, again, that same idea around that sort of deregulation around this whole market. The streaming, there was a couple of big reports out this week in Australia around how the whole streaming market is going. Presto, Stan, Netflix, etc. Netflix is monstering everybody. That's expected, considering how consistent and how much of a longevity in this space they have. But this just shows you that your Prestos, your Stan of this world are trying to also muscle in and consolidate their position. It does also give the Quickflix sort of play extra content, extra revenue stream, extra advertising. Again, another part of Foxtel sort of offering to try and expand into areas that it wouldn't normally get touch points on. So it's a positive from that perspective. On a stock idea, it is all about how they're going to deliver that into the future, or how they're going to get revenue up, and that's what Foxtel is trying to look at, getting extra areas of the market that didn't have before by doing these times of JVs.
All right, Evan, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Ingrid.
Evan Lucas from IG there. Now back to James Manning from Media Week for more on all this. James, this deal announced between Presto and Quickflix, just showing how competitive this whole space is becoming.
Yeah, look, it's fascinating, isn't it? And, they are going to be playing catch-up with Netflix. I don't really see a lot in this Quickflix deal. As you said, commercial requirements have got to be met, so there's definitely some more to happen there before we understand what's going on properly. But, yeah, Netflix, look, doing great things like rank the Australian ISPs this week, releasing that data to their customers. Fascinating information. TPG ranked #1, Telstra was #7 down the list. So, that's really putting pressure on the internet providers here to lift their game. And they've been talking to the Top Gear trio. I mean, Clarkson, Hammond and May and their executive producer, Andy Willman. Gee, what a programming coup that would be if they could get those guys on board.
And it's not just that, it's also Stan has announced it's now available on Apple TV as well. So
yeah, look, they're playing up too. And it's, that's a crucial part of the offering too. Stan had a big wraparound in one of the Fairfax Sunday paper last week too, so it's using the marketing muscle of Fairfax. But you've got to get your thing out on as many platforms as possible, and that's probably one of the little keys to that Quickflix Presto deal.
And we were just talking Nine with Evan as well. Of course, sports rights looking like they're becoming more and more important, but we already know that. Yeah,
of course. It's just it's the business model these days. It's a big reality format. It's sort of event TV, if you like, and live sport. With a bedrock of some news and current affairs. That's really key to it.
There's also a cross-platform ratings tool, called Park, which has been introduced by the Nine Network. What's behind this?
Yeah, look, they just wanted to tell their advertisers, the total audiences. It's not just about the overnight figure. There's people watching, let's use The Block, for example. There's replays during the day, so they'll add that figure in. They've got Jump In, Nine's online catch-up service. They'll measure the audiences from that, add it all together, and they're pumping that information out to their advertisers daily. They want to get some dashboard activity for desktop computers that the clients will be able to log into and get an update of all this. There's going to be some industry-wide some system of measuring all this, but I think it's a long way off. We talked to Doug Pfeiffer when he was on the show a few weeks ago. They're making progress, but I don't think Nine wanted to wait that long.
Nine wanted to get it out there. All right. SBS as well, it's resigned from Freeview. And this is a big move, but it seems like a bit of a political stunt.
Well, I think it's more about revenue, you know.
Okay.
They've just, you know, they've had a significant budget cut. They knew that was coming. To try and get around that, they wanted to rejuggle their advertising airtime, move some of the off-peak into peak. That's met some strong headwinds. It's beginning to look like it might get through. The Labor Party coming out and say they're not going to support it. So they've really got to look at everything now. And there's probably a bit over $500,000 they're spending on Freeview. And they've got to say, well, you know...
It's all about efficiency these days, isn't it?
They might disappear off some of the Freeview EPGs, perhaps, but if they think, well, if that's our only downside, you know, maybe that's not worth $500,000 to us.
Well, there's also, in the federal budget, there was some smaller cuts to Screen Australia as well. What's been the sort of reaction from producers there? Yeah,
look, the producers warned, look, this could be bad news for the production sector, you know. Screen Australia already got hammered last year a little bit. Some ongoing cuts, which means it wasn't a massive cut this year. I think it was about another $3 million, but it's significant, and just trying to run their offices and things like that, it's going to impact on them. The worth to the sector was... Just yesterday they announced $64 million of new investment triggered by, I think it was a direct investment from them of $13 million. So a lot of broadcasters these days won't proceed with a program until they get injection of funds from Screen Australia to just push it off.
Some big moves. We always talk media moves in the space, and this week it's all about Reece Holleran leaving Southern Cross. How much do you think the Kyle and Jackie O exit had to do with this?
Well, it was definitely part of it.
Yeah.
It'd be naive to say it had nothing to do with it. But look, he's been there 18 years, you know. So, I mean, look, he's more than served his time there, and he's got a long list of achievements over that time. But look, they did really, you know, get themselves into a corner over the last couple of years. There was the Kyle and Jackie O thing, the prank call, the Kyle and Jackie O leaving.
Yes,
you know,
a combination of things.
Yeah, it was the Hot 30 prank call, not Kyle and Jackie O, but Kyle and Jackie O leaving, going to ARN. The Today FM rebrand, you know, was done at a tricky time, calling it the Hit Today Network. Hasn't really got them to where they want to be. It's a long-term thing, but yeah,
and then
time for a change,
and then
as he says.
The other big one that we've been talking about this week is Danny Bass quitting Group M.
Yeah, going to IPG Media Brands, a massive move for him. Yeah. He can't go for 6 months, so it's going to be a little while. Henry Taser, of course, leaving, going to a big job in New York, a global position for IPG Media Brands. Taser will stay on as a chairman here for the Australian business, but yeah, big play.
Online news rankings as well. We love talking about this. There's a few changes this time. Yeah,
look, I'm beginning to wonder if we're a bit of the kiss of death. We had Peter Holder in here from Daily Mail Australia, and the week after they dropped down a ranking. Had Etta Harrison was in here last week from Yahoo 7. What happens? They dropped down too. So look, I don't think we've got... We can't be really held responsible.
Oh, I don't think we can.
Yeah, they're still hanging in the top 10 there. Yeah. Just a little bit of movement there. No change at the top with news and smh.com, news.com.au, right. smh.com.au at the top, but very little separating them now. I think it's the closest margin between the first and second place. But Nielsen also pointing out some big traffic for financial news and information sites.
All right, let's take a look now at some of the TV ratings. Kicking it off with free to air for week 19. My Kitchen Rules back in top spot this week with the winner and, of course, the grand final.
Season final did very well for Sam.
And then turning the page as well to see the rest of them. There it is. MasterChef, The Launch, making it in there.
Yep.
No doubt it could move up once we see, now that My Kitchen Rules is finished, it might move up the list.
Yeah, no, look, the numbers have been doing very well for MasterChef.
Subscription television ratings now, kicking it off with sport. No surprises there, the NRL and the AFL. Turning the page, though, for the non-sport ones, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
No surprises there.
Movie's still popular.
Yeah. All right, let's talk TV, because we are less than a week away from Eurovision. But sure. Australians can't vote for Guy.
No, it comes a bit of a rude shock for some Aussies, but people who watch it might know regularly that a country can't vote for their own contestant. But Aussies living in England or other parts of Europe, you can motivate your friends to vote. You can actually vote 20 times from the one phone, yeah. So
wow, okay.
Call early and call often.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be watching. Now, David Letterman as well. We've heard a lot about this because it's his retiring next week, of course, from CBS. There's been a lot of talk about this in the media.
Look, he's having a massive last week of programs. You know, some big name guests, Oprah, Howard Stern, all the big names.
Bill Clinton
US
as well.
Media, going on the program. I think the final episode's on last week. CBS had a 90-minute 10-minute special tribute to him this week that did pretty well in the ratings. So if you want to catch up on the last couple of episodes, late nights on 10's the place to go.
Oh, there you go. Good promo there.
Well, very late. I think it's after midnight. Most
really? Last ones though, last chance. Okay, also I want to talk quickly about the InStyle Awards. They were held this week, of course, a bit of a star-studded event.
Yeah, well, so look, Robin Lawley was the big winner there. She won the People's Choice, won one of the other awards. So a model now, I think, based in LA. She wasn't able to be there last night, but she sent a video message. In the entertainment category, Naomi Watts, Imogen Banks won. Naomi Watts, the actress, of course. Imogen Banks, long-time colleague of John Edwards in the production sector, done a lot of great shows, particularly some for 10 in recent years, Foxtel, so some good stuff there. Janine Ellis, founder of Boost Juice, she was a worthy winner. I think it was Lorraine Foster who runs the great vintage clothing shop here in Sydney. She was great, gave a great speech. And a girl called Marita Chang, who a lot of people might know about, but very young entrepreneur. I think she's in that tech space.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying her speech was pretty inspirational as well.
Her mum was in the audience. She talked about her mum, how her mum worked. She was a single mother, you know, just worked hard to get her an education. It was just really moving. And
this is the first time, because they've obviously appointed Emily Taylor as editor, and it was her first time.
Her first night as the editor. Jackie Frank's real first night as the publisher of InStyle. So, yeah, it was a big night. Audi have been a long-time supporter of the awards. So, yeah, it was just a great evening.
All right. Well, that does wrap up Media Week for this week. A big thank you to James Manning, of course, editor and publisher of Media Week, our co-host from the team here. Thanks for your company.